All right, afternoon everyone. Bit of a new idea for a thing on the channel. I've not had a guest on before, and I'm pleased to be joined by Scott, a Barnsley fan who hopefully, he sounds like he's done his research when I spoke to him before this call. So hopefully he's going to tell us about Gerhard Struber and what we should expect from him. How are you doing, Scott? Thanks very much for coming on.
Thanks very much for coming on.
No worries. I was going to ask just to start things off. Tell us a bit about yourself, mate. What's your affiliation with Barnsley?
It's about going. When you're 3, you're not really that bothered. But I think I've had a season ticket since I was like 7 or 8, and just fell in love with it really, as well as EFL as well. I want to transition more into EFL, but I'm mainly talking about the fantasy game EFL, which just got released last year. But yeah, I'm wanting to transition more into just general EFL content, whether it's Championship, League 1, League 2, etc. I don't really mind. So yeah.
Love to hear it, mate. And you'll see I've put our X on underneath our names. And Scott, I believe you do quite a lot of useful fantasy EFL stuff on X, don't you?
Yep.
So yeah, give him a follow if you're interested in that. So I just want to ask, tell us about, I guess, your experience with Gerhard Struber at Barnsley. Then what's the story?
Yeah, so he came in, I think it was 2019-20 season. I think that was season that Leeds won league, I think it was, and it was like Brentford, Fulham, they were up there. But he came with us. We were dead bottom at league. We were fully gone. I think we only had 1 win in like 19 games. It was really bad. We only won 1 game at the start of the season. Like even with him coming in, it seemed promising. Like, oh, he seems like a good young coach. He seems like like a breath of fresh air almost. But we had problems with ownership, not backing club, poor transfer window. Again, it just felt like we were almost destined for a season back in League 1. I think he came in late November, and you start to see improvement straight away, because I think from previous manager Stendhal, we played quite like almost like an ultra attacking system, which didn't it fit for fitted for League 1, sorry, but in Championship it just wasn't. You know what I mean? We were getting picked apart. I think for Stendhal's last game, previous manager, we lost something like 5-1. So we couldn't really create much, and we were struggling defensively. So it was a tough situation to come into. I mean, players were low, fans weren't turning up. You could see it from stands really. Not really many people. I know we're at COVID season. Sorry, I think that was. But yeah, he came in late November. I think it was Middlesbrough. We ended up losing that game, but it was quite high possession. I think like 60-odd%. We were creating chances. Again, we ended up losing that game, but you could see that
good performance,
exactly. I think in first 10 games, he won 5, drew 3, and lost 2. So again, that's an instant improvement. Because we were drawing quite a few games, but like I said, 1 win in 19's shocking. Like I think when he came in, it were like I don't even know if it was double digits, to be honest. Like in terms of points total that we were on, it were really, really bad. I think we went into a bit of a rotting form in Jan. We started with like a 4-4-2 diamond shape, because he likes control at the middle part, which I'll come on to. And then like 4-3-1-2. But then he went to a 3-4-1-2, which assured us up a bit more defensively. We didn't necessarily create as much, but that wasn't really an issue. It was more shoring up defensively, because we could score goals. But like I say, we were just conceding for fun, really. We got some big wins against some big clubs. Brentford, Fulham, Forest, who were all up there. I think Fulham, I think got promoted. Brentford were up there. They had Mbeumo, Ben Rama, and Watkins, and we bet them on final day of season to stay up, which is God knows. I think they had Ray Goal, Arsenal keeper. And we should have even bet Leeds. We went to Ellen Road and we absolutely dominated them, like completely dominated them, and Leeds like dominated everyone that season. And we had chance upon chance, but it felt like players just couldn't hit a barn door really. But we did end up staying up on a technicality because Wigan got a minus 12 point deduction for financial fair play or whatever that was. But some people might say, you stayed up on a technicality, but I think there was much more to that, considering the situation that he came into. Club were toxic. We had like no points on board really. You know what I mean? It seemed like it was League 1, like genuinely. I remember just thinking like, even with new manager coming in, like there's no chance really. But yeah, we did it on final day. I think it was 92nd minute, 93rd minute. And you could if you watch some videos, just search on Twitter or YouTube, just Struber Brentford or whatever, and passion like coming out of him, like he will like reduce to tears, like he was just saying, like, I'm so proud for these boys. That's the type of manager he is. You know what I mean? He loves his players. He's involved with his players. He's not one of them that, you know what I mean, that's purely tactical or he's purely good at man management. I think he's brilliant at both. He's a good tactician. He's a good man manager. He's not just stern or he's not just bubbly. He's a bit of both, really. You know what I mean? He can be stern with players, but he has that, you know, that almost relatable side, that warm side to him.
Yeah.
Which I think that's definitely you know, the fact that he's Austrian. I think that definitely comes across quite well.
Yeah, it certainly came across in all of like the opening interviews, and I think our last manager obviously got us playoffs for the first time in nearly 20 years. But I think one of the things you could say about him is he wasn't the most emotional or charismatic, and I think that was probably one of his qualities, that he didn't get too high or too low. But at the same time, I've seen a couple of team talks that Struber's done, like there was a camera in one of the dressing rooms, and it's just so compelling. Like I would want to run through brick walls for that man, basically, based on.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, definitely. I'd encourage any Bristol City fan to watch any of them videos, something like interviews and everything. Like he's fully committed to the club. I think it were only until start of the season when he realised there were no coming in terms of recruitment that he decided to leave, which a lot of fans were saying, oh, he's just using as a stepping stone. But I think that's everyone. Everyone wants to go and manage at Premier League or higher divisions. Do you know what I mean? Football's not this.
It's people's careers, isn't it? Absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? They've got to consider the family's livelihood, etc. And I think they ended up. He were very highly rated. I think Watford were after him that season where he left to New York Red Bulls. There were a lot of European interest, and they bought his contract out. I think it was for €2 million, something like that. And we bought his contract out for €1 million, so he's definitely highly rated in a lot of circles, especially European. And then obviously went to MLS, did all right there. And then he went to Cologne in Germany in Bundesliga. I think he nearly got them promoted, but I don't know too much about that. But I think he's managed in Champions League with Salzburg. You know what I mean? He's got an incredible CV, really. I think on face of it, again, it looks like a brilliant appointment, really, for me.
Sounds good. Sorry, I think we had a few audio issues. Everyone could hear you just fine, but there might have been some echo. So hopefully, let me know in the chat if it's not been sorted. But I think we should all be good. It's nothing your end, Scott. We had a question from Benny in the chat based on you were talking about him being quite passionate and emotional. Did you see him get in trouble with the referees very much as a result?
Referee, I can remember him shouting a lot on touchline. I can't. There's not any things that I could. It was quite a while ago. I will caveat.
Yeah, fine.
This was like 2019, 2020. But I do remember him being very, very vocal on touchline. It might have just been obviously because of COVID and that you couldn't hear anything because no one in the stand. But I do remember him being very vocal, and I think that's part of it. You know what I mean? Him being Austrian, I think that definitely comes across quite well. But I don't think he's that type of manager that ever pushes boundaries unless something, you know what I mean? Unless something's been said or something, which is just a natural human emotion. But I never thought that he pushed line too much, to be honest. Not really, no, to be honest.
Good to know. You started talking, sounded like you've done a bit of prep from a tactical point of view. How would you say he lined Barnsley up from a tactical point of view? I guess, and also if you can remember back that far, like what was your sort of squad like? Was he a bit limited by the players he had available, or did he just immediately start playing the system that he wanted to, regardless of who he had?
Yeah, so I'll talk a bit about his type, style of football, and then I'll go on about how well suited our squad were to that, and in terms of players that we had. There'll be a couple of players mentioned here that people know who play in championship level. But in terms of football, I think main quality that you see is just very aggressive from pressing football. He's one of them that he demands a lot out of his players, which I was discussing previously. Fitness, squad depth, I think will be key. I think that's one thing that we suffered with, because we had a lot of like first, second year pros on our team that struggled to adapt. They were kind of just shoehorned in because we didn't have that strength and depth as such. So I think that is definitely key, and I think that's something that Bristol City could look at a bit more, because I feel like that's definitely a weakness in terms, especially forward options, etc. Mainly defenders though. Like I don't know too much about Bristol City's side, but I remember looking at the back line for playoff semi-final against Sheffield United, and I was looking that is food for players like Hammer. I won't say more added disaster class for majority at playoffs, but players like that who can kill you if they get a chance. So I definitely think recruitment needs to strengthen in that regard, so you can get players in. But I think in terms of position that you're at compared to us, I think you're in a much better place to, to accommodate his system. I think if you've been listening to his interviews and that, he says he's like a vertical style of football, which is trying to get ball forward at all costs. Really, he's not that. He is possession oriented, but it's not like a be all and end all. Like your Russell Martins, type of managers who kind of are more risk averse. They pass it round back. They don't want to rush it. I won't say Struber rushes it, but he's definitely more. There's more emphasis on getting it forward. None of this passing round back sort of style. He's got strong emphasis on taking control at middle at park, central overloads. He likes his playing his 10 and his 2 strikers. There's a lot of different changes in formation. He's quite adaptable in that, I will say. We started off with a 4-4-2 diamond. We went to like a 3-4-1. Not 3-4-1-2. A 4-3-1-2, and then we went to a back 3 because defensively we want as good. Providing more cover. But I think his main principle is like you play a 10 and then 2 strikes. I think that's something that you'll maybe see. I think he has played with Colne 3-4-2-1, which I believe Bristol City have played or can play. So that could be a thing. I mean, again, I don't know your squad too well, but I think there's definitely. It could be a thing where you start with a 3 back and then you go to a 4 back. Again, I'm not 100% sure on this, but it can shift. It's not like I play this way, etc. But I think one thing about him though, his style of play is clear, and I think one good thing is that you've got a pre-season behind you. He can get his players in. I think keeping Older Knight will be key as well for your season. We'll have to see whether that happens. I think I was chatting to a Bristol City fan. Apparently, had interest from Bournemouth. I think it is.
Oh, Bournemouth and Everton. I think are the two that want him. Yeah.
Yeah, they like poaching your players like Semenyo, etc. And Alex Scott. I think it is.
Yeah.
I think he'll be key. I think he's brilliant. And like I said, getting more defensive options, getting a proper centre forward or 2 or more. So I think is it Naki Wells he could be leaving? I don't rate that Armstrong that well. I'm not sure how well he's suited to Struber's style football. But yeah, I mean, I think it can definitely go well if he's given players. He needs to play his sort of style. I think you've already got some in there. I think Randall, like we were saying before, brilliant signing. I think he's going to be key for your system. He's definitely a Struber type player in my opinion. But yeah, possession oriented, but not necessarily be all and end all. I'd say.
I think to be honest, I'm being in the Ashley Gate Stadium when Manning was trying to keep hold of possession as he did at times. Fans could get quite frustrated with that. Yeah, there would be times where we would patiently, and I didn't necessarily have a problem with it because we did all right with it, but would patiently pass the ball around the edge of the opposition's box to try and find an opportunity. But it sounds like under Struber there'll be a bit less of that, and it'll be a bit more direct.
No, definitely, yeah. Like I said, he can play it in middle sometimes. You know what I mean? Short passing, then boom, straight over the top. Like you know what I mean? More direct than that passing, waiting for perfect pass or perfect option. It's more aggressive, and you're always trying to get ball forward, or if you haven't got ball, you're always trying to win that back. And that goes on to another thing. I think counter pressing.
I was going to ask about that.
With Struber. We obviously see most notable with Klopp, and I think that's a big sort of philosophy that he's owned from Red Bull system. They're big on counter pressing, winning ball back high in opponent's half. I remember at Barnsley. It's been quite a while, so his philosophy could have changed quite a bit. But I think this is sort of a key thing within his system. At Barnsley, we're almost like man for man press. Especially at forwards, they're always on. They're trying to cut passing lanes. You know what I mean? They were always trying to put pressure on ball carrier. You know what I mean? And trying to force them to play backwards rather than forwards. I've got some stats here as well that reflect how aggressive Struber's side were for Barnsley. I think we most defensive duels, most interceptions, and most tackles in league, which kind of shows how aggressive.
That's what we like to hear. Yeah.
Not forward, but defensively, really. He asks a lot from his centre backs, I think. Who you do sort of play a high line. It'll be interesting to see though how he, adopts a Championship again. I think that is one strength fact that he's had not a full season, but practically a full season in Championship, and he knows the league, he knows the physicality. Because we've had a lot of managers from European teams who come in and think that it's going to be this way, and it's not. Yeah, it's completely different league. It's very unique league, Championship, and I think the fact that he has had experience at Championship, he knows what the league's like. I think that can definitely be an advantage to him, and Bristol City, obviously. So yeah.
Sounds great. Yeah, I'd say the one area I'd be concerned in about our squad, you hit the nail on the head really, is our striking options. And you said you could play 3 at the back, which is kind of exactly what Manning was doing last season and got us playoffs. And he can also play 4. I think both of those systems work for City, but I think you were telling me he's pretty key on 2 up front. Whatever system, it's kind of 2 up front.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is where we're a bit weak. And from a Bristol City perspective, I hope it means that we have to dip into the transfer market to at least get one forward. We're looking at Emil Rees, I believe, from Preston. I think he's out of contract this season.
He's a good signing, yeah.
I think he'd be a good fit for that system. I remember we played Preston in our final game, the game that we got the playoffs in. And Rees and I can't remember the other striker for Preston who it was, but they both just absolutely destroyed us with their physicality. So I reckon that would that'd be a good fit for us next season if we could get him.
Definitely, yeah.
Let's see if we got anything in the chat. Did you have anything else you wanted to say? Sorry, I feel like I cut you off then.
No, it's all right. I've got some responses to some questions that were asked. If you want to go to them.
I can reel off 2 seconds.
If you'd like.
So yeah, Josh, and I think he actually linked the 2 of us up, so thank you for doing that, Josh. One of the, I guess, criticisms and definitely noticeable things we had with Liam Manning, our previous manager, is he would always make a substitution on the 60th minute, and he would wait, whatever happened, pretty much, wait until the 60th minute to make substitutions. Did you have any thoughts on, or any memories of how Gerhard worked with his substitutions?
Yeah, my memories are in. I can't remember thinking or anything about. Oh yeah, it's 60 minutes. Bang. Do you know what I mean? I think you were very more proactive rather than reactive as well. Again, we go hard. The main principle is attack the game. It's never sit back or let teams come at him. It's attack the game. You know what I mean? He's positive thinking in that regard. Sometimes it don't work out. That's football, and you're not going to win every game. And I think there'll obviously be people saying like. Said in our fan base as well, like, oh, he's too it's too risky almost sometimes. And I think in terms of substitutions, only criticisms that I can give him are more in terms of personnel rather than timings. Again, this was a big debate in fan base. There's a player called Ritzmaier, who I expect no one to know, but he wasn't the greatest player. I remember him not being the greatest player, and he played in quite a bit for whatever reason. But if I'm being brutally honest, the options on bench were very, very poor, like really poor. Like a lot of them players that were on bench are not even playing in League One or League Two. Like really, really bad. I'm not exaggerating that either. So you can say that, yeah, maybe his substitutions were poor or people that were playing, but he didn't have that much to work with. Don't get me wrong, he had some very, very good Championship players. I'll know Alex Mowat being one. Cauley Woodrow for a couple of years back, maybe not now, but back then he was a really good Championship player. Callum Styles for West Brom, he was coming through ranks, brilliant player. Mads Anderson, who's at Luton, he played at Premier League, and a couple of others as well. But other than that, yeah, like I think there's some players playing in like League of Ireland, etc. So in terms of strength in depth, it wasn't as great. So it'll be interesting to see what he does with Bristol City side, to be honest. I've got one quote from him as well. I think this start at 2021 season, which was basically just before he left to go to New York Red Bulls. And we had Hellick, who was at Oxford, Mikael Hellick. I think we just signed him that summer. He got sent off in the 42nd minute, and I think it was still 0-0 at this stage. But he didn't take anyone off at half time. We did end up losing that game 2-0. I will say that. I'm not going to say we went on to win 3-1 or whatever. We didn't. But I think that has a lot of insight into his sort of character and way he plays. I think quoting him roughly, he basically said, "Is this how?" A reporter basically asked him like, "Why did you do that? Why didn't you take a striker off and then go more defensively?" And he just says, "Is this how we do things in England? This isn't who I am or who I want from my team." And I think that sums his mindset up in that regard, really, that he's more forward thinking rather than negative thinking. I think that's probably the best principle that you can take from Gerhard, in my opinion.
Yeah, the player. Sorry, I've my EFL knowledge is probably nowhere near as good as yours by the sound of it. The player that you mentioned, what position were they? Were they one of the midfielders, kind of thing, or was it?
Hellick got sent off. He was centre back.
Centre back. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So he didn't even take a striker off. I think another centre back ended up getting sent off as well. I can't remember how that game. I think we lost 2. I can't remember if we went more defensive then because it was 9 men. But yeah. He basically just went to a reporter. He just went like, "This is not how I do things. I want to be, like front forward still, like regardless of circumstance or whatever. This is where I play, and I try to implement that, regardless of situation. If we're winning 1-0, if we're losing 3-0, etc. Do you know what I mean? So I think that's definitely a primarily positive thing about him."
Nice one. And the same applies, if anyone's watching this live and in the chat as well, feel free to chime in with some questions for Scott as well. What else did we have? We had one on what is he like with academy players. I would say, again, just thinking, I can only really compare him to our previous manager. We had a couple of sort of fringe academy players that could have got some minutes for Bristol City and were just not used at all. And that would probably be one of the criticisms you could have about Liam Manning, our previous manager. What would you say to Struber about Struber on that?
Yeah, I've got a stat here that's quite remarkable. I think I will again caveat this for saying that again he didn't have much options. Okay. As opposed to your stronger sides in league, but he had lowest average age in Championship. I think it was 22.7 years. I think it was. Wow. Average age, which were incredible, really. We did have some experienced players in lineup. We were like 30 odd. There were only like 1 or 2, I think. But most notably from them types of players, we had Callum Styles, who plays left back for West Brom. Jacob Brown, who was at Luton. Yeah. Connor Chaplin, who are I think only in early 20s. And Mads Anderson, who were all relatively young. And there are a couple of others as well. But yeah, again, I think that's one thing that he emphasises a lot is giving minutes to youth and letting them have a chance rather than just picking these sort of players who have already got minutes. He gives chances to people, which are, again, something that I admire because I do think sometimes managers come in and just neglect certain players, which sometimes, especially when you're in a rot of form, it does help that you have, young ones to come on who are raring to go and take advantage of it, really. So
that's really good to hear. Definitely. One thing I really like about the appointment as well is that the two things you've described there, using young players when they've earned their chances, and also the kind of football that you've described. Yeah. What you get a sense of as a Bristol City fan is that the people running the club have decided that that's what they want to do. They decided that a few years ago, and now they've recruited this guy who can deliver upon their ambitions. So it's really nice as a Bristol City fan to have like alignment between those two things.
Definitely, yeah.
What else did we have? Joel asked, we sort of covered it, but I think it's still valid to answer it. How often did he change his formation in tactics? Did he usually play a back 3 or back 4?
Yeah, so we started off with 4-4-2 diamond, which were kind of like a 4-3-2-1 at times. Oh, no, 4-3-1-2, sorry, at times. But I think we went through a really, really bad run of form in January. I think we lost like 4 or 5 games. And it was like looking really bad for him. Like at one point we were thinking like, should we like sack him? I remember our main sort of YouTube channel, Tykes TV. They had some proper characters on there, and they were like proper like going for his throat. Like, I don't understand this. Why is he not playing him? Why is he not playing him? And then we changed to a back 3, and we weren't creating as much. But I went to that necessarily as a negative thing. I think we showed a lot more and we were harder to beat. I think that is, I will go into this, that is one criticism which is quite remarkable considering what I was saying about his forward thinking. One criticism from Barnsley fans was saying that we were at that second half of the season that we became almost too defensive and we couldn't create as much. But I have distinct memories of games. I think it was Forest, which was second game of the season. We needed to win this to stay up, then to play Brentford. Before that, we were thinking like there's no chance we're going to beat Brentford with Mbeumo, Ben Rama, Watkins, Raya in goal, and a couple of others like Pinnock, Rico, Henry. But other players like that who were just, you know what I mean, like Premier League level players who wanted Premier at that time. But yeah, we needed to win, and I remember like Jacob Brown, he must have missed about like 5 or 6 big chances. I'm not even joking. I remember just, I think I was watching it on laptop because obviously COVID season.
Yeah.
And I was just, we needed to win, and I remember just screaming at a laptop saying, "How have you not put that in back at net?" And like I said, one notable thing, we absolutely dominated Leeds, not in terms of possession, but in terms of chances we created. All Leeds fans, I remember on Twitter, were replying to all fans and saying, I have no idea how we won that game. And that were like prime Bielsa in Championship when they absolutely like obliterated everyone. When the fans won it in ground and they got promoted. And like all Leeds fans were saying, I have no idea, are they betters? We completely dominated them at Ellen Road. Obviously fans want in, but you know what I mean? It's a big thing really to do. And again, alongside some other notable wins like Brentford on final day, which I have no idea how we bet Brentford on final day with them. You look, in the moment, you think, wow, but then you're looking back at it and you're thinking, state of their forward line, it's joke.
That's an amazing team, isn't it? Absolutely. Yeah.
Sure, yeah. And guy who ended up scoring goal, who had a lot of minutes, Callum Adair, he's in like League Two. So that again, he were a good player for us, don't get me wrong, and I'll never forget what he did for football club in terms of helping us stay up. But these are not Championship quality players by any means. He really did have to work with. I will say that there's some really good players in that side, like I said before, Mowerts, Woodrose, Styles, who were only young at that time. I think Chapman as well, who were younger. But there was some key weaknesses, and especially on bench. I was looking yesterday when I was doing a bit more research, and some options were poor, really poor. And especially when you look back on it, you don't really know at the moment what level they are or what they can go on to. And yeah, a lot of them in like League Two, League of Ireland, etc. So probably even lower than your League Two levels. So yeah, he did really have to work with a mixed bag, really. And I think if he has them players in, then he can work his magic, really, I think. And again, a positive that I'll always refer back to is the fact that it's not his first rodeo in Championship.
Yeah,
he knows what league's like. I think that's key for a foreign manager. And I think that's one of the main criticisms. A lot of people say, "Oh, he don't know what league's going to be like. He's going to play this style of football, and he's not going to be able to do this, and that." But I think I think it's a very good appointment. And no disrespect to you, like genuinely, I just think this is such a coup, really, that I thought he'd get an even higher job. Do you know what I mean? I rate him.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah,
he's one of the best managers we've had. We only had him for a short stint. Don't get me wrong, but I'll not. I cannot emphasise enough what he did was an absolute miracle. Like football club, and again, Wigan only ended up going down because it got a minus 12 points deduction. But the fact that we only won one game in 19, which is basically after a season, one game in 19, it's incredible, really. Honestly, I remember that final day, and I couldn't believe it. I was completely in shock. Like we never expected to even get a point at Brentford. We needed to win. We never expected to get a point, and we went on and we did it. And I think that game and games before, it showed belief that he instilled into his players, who were completely gone. They were shot. They had no hope, really, and that were reflected in fan base, really. It just got toxic. I remember watching videos on saying that we're down. We may as well start recruiting for League One rather than Championship.
Wow.
And then he come in, breath of fresh air, really, honestly. And yeah, a miracle worker.
I think everything you've said is basically music to our fans' ears, to be honest. Yeah, it sounds like you hold him
definitely.
You must hold him in really high regard. Though I guess.
Definitely.
I mean, you share that opinion with lots of Barnsley fans as well, based on what you've described.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah, I think he is definitely underrated, and I think a lot of it is fact that he was there for such a short period, and I think naturally there's going to be a lot of fan base that, you know what I mean. They have like sour attitude to him.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But with recruitment and ambition, that it happens to us every single time. Owners don't invest into the club. You don't have these players, you know what I mean, and it just turns sour. And I don't blame him for fans might, but I don't blame him for leaving. You know what I mean? It's you're never really going to get out with us, and I think you need to move on to progress his game really. And he did well for New York Red Bulls, and he managed in Champions League with Salzburg as well. So yeah, I think it's a very good appointment. And again, I always go back to the fact that he's had one season in Championship already, so
it's not a new league,
yeah.
And
it's such a bonus for you.
And it sounds like even though he came in like completely green to the league, that was one of the things I've taken away from what you said. He made almost an immediate impact on your squad. Like first game, he got a good performance out of them. Might not have won the game, but they, after one win in 19.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like five wins, 3 draws, 2 losses. Like solid, very solid. And we did go in a bit of a rut in form, but he made them changes. You know what I mean? He wasn't just saying, "Oh, I'm playing this, I'm playing that." He's adaptable, he's flexible. I think he recognises sometimes that players can't play this style of football or are limited in this regard. But you know what I mean? He makes them changes, and I think he's very much more proactive. He's a proactive manager, to be honest. And that did help us. A lot of fans were saying, "Oh, we went defensive and goals stopped coming," but you don't really want. It's all right if you're winning games like 5-3 like every week, but it won't like that. We get like a win 5-3 and then we lose like 2 or 3 more after that. So I think him going more defensive saved the season, really, to be honest. And obviously, I think we had a very, very, like I said before, we had a very, very like almost ultra attacking manager who just very, very focused on just attack at all costs. But I think there's a more compromise with Struber side. He can get. He's more defensively regimented. I'm not saying he's a defensive coach, but he's more sound assured in back line, especially compared to his other manager, where we were just getting whopped every week, really.
Yeah. Awesome. I sort of I feel like you've covered everything I wanted to ask, really. And before we started the stream, you said you did quite a bit of research. So what I don't want to do is just waste any of that. So is there anything you've got there that I haven't asked already?
Honestly, I think I'll go through it quick. But I think that's practically it. I think. Give me one sec. I think I've got some notes on my phone as well.
No dramas, mate. I'll see if we've got any more questions while you're... feel free in the chat. Fine. We've got, I think it says 36 people watching at the moment, so if anyone's got any questions in the chat, do feel free to ask. We'll just see if anything's come up on Twitter. No, that was a lot of questions we had on there.
Yeah, I will say as well, the fact that when he was with Barnsley, it was his second managerial job. He came from a coach at RB Salzburg, then he went to Wolfsberger, and this was his second job. So there were a lot of uncertainty. He was, I regarded, but there were a lot of uncertainty in that.
I can imagine. Like, absolutely.
It's his second job, etc. And they were like saying, "Oh, he's Austrian or whatever. It's not going to turn out well." You don't know at league. He's going to say, "Oh, this is my way," and we're just going to lose every week, and it's just going to be one of the lowest points total in league, etc. But no, completely changed. And I think he's obviously going to evolve as a coach. I mean, he's been at he's been at Red Bulls, then at Salzburg, and obviously Cologne in Germany. So he's had a lot of experience with a lot of different players, a lot of elite players as well. I imagine with Salzburg and Cologne as well. A lot of very, very, technical, gifted players. So he's had a lot of experience there as well. So I think you're getting a more improved coach and manager compared to what we had in 2020, 2019. So,
thinking back, that's a long time ago, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So I have had to do my research a bit, to be fair. But when you start doing it, things do come back to you, like, oh yeah, we did this or that happened, yeah. But honestly, I can't heap his praises enough. Honestly, brilliant manager, brilliant guy, and he'll get it all for you. He really will. And I think he's someone who fans can get properly behind. Really, I think that's his most notable characteristic, really. Oh yeah, no worries.
Sorry, my mic was muted then. It was a question that might jog your memory as to to the coaching staff that he brought along to Barnsley with him. Do you remember if he recruited his own or brought across his own coaching staff? That's one of the things we've got at City at the moment. We haven't. So we agreed a deal for Liam Manning plus some compensation for him to go to Norwich, and then he was pretty tight with a guy called Liam Hogg, who was our assistant manager, and he hasn't gone across to Norwich yet. I think there's still in negotiations about some compensation for him. And it was just a question of, do you have in mind anyone that he might bring across? Don't worry if you don't. I mean, we did see that a guy was at New York Red Bulls. I'm going to Google it myself a second, and he left. But we couldn't tell if that was just a coincidence.
Yeah, there's none that spring to mind, to be honest. I honestly, if I'm being honest, I can't really think any. It does say that he brought some in second season, but he only stayed for 4 games. Right. And I think both of them ended up leaving.
Okay.
But I will say, I imagine that he's obviously he has a lot of relationships in football, especially at Red Bull Academy. So I can't say in terms of personnel. I'd say definitely that he will bring his a mix. I'd say definitely.
All right. Well, thanks so much for coming on, mate. You did a great job there, and I hope that Bristol City fans come away from this pretty excited about the new manager that they've got. So yeah, thank you very much for coming on. And do you want to say a little bit more about your X account and what you do with Fantasy EFL as well before we sign off?
Yeah, so I've just started that. It's basically just started last year, but obviously for those of you who play FPL, I'd say Fantasy FPL's even better, to be honest. I like it's more simpler, and you can pick such a wide range of players. And if you want, I know it sounds daft, but if you want to like know more about EFL, it does help you, even if it's like League 2, League 1. I know the majority of people are not really bothered about that, but for me and a couple others as well, it's good just to know more about your lower leagues, League 1, League 2, and your team might end up signing some of them players as well. So I think it's good not only for a fantasy game, there's a good community behind it, and it's good, just to broaden your knowledge at EFL, really, to be honest. So yeah, I'd encourage anyone to play it. I think there'll be more players next year. But yeah, it's a brilliant game, and cheers for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure, mate. Looks like you've got a few fans in my chat as well that are saying well in. Good job. So yeah, thanks so much for coming on, mate, and thank you everyone for watching.
Appreciate it.